You know, when we came to this country, you know, I'm telling my life story here. I don't know whether. When we came to this country in 1975, I told the mission board who had sent us, I said, okay, I will go there for 4 years, and that's all. Finished. I will come back and find a church and pastor there. You know, that will soon be 40 years. When the 4 years came to an end, that was just my plan. It wasn't God's plan. You're not going anywhere. So here I am. Here we are. Planted by God. And fulfilling as best we can His purposes. You remember in Psalms 1? Psalms 1 is one of those Psalms that many of us memorize. It's a great Psalms. It talks about the man who is blessed. Blessed is the man. And he says that man will be blessed because he will be planted by the rivers of waters. And everything that he does will prosper. God plants us where He wants us to be and to shine for Him the splendor of His glory. I do have to direct you, maybe as a warning to help you to understand. In Matthew 15, 3 or 4 Thursday nights ago, I preached from Matthew 15. I don't know how many of you remember that. We don't remember too many sermons. Some of them we do. But in Matthew chapter 15, Jesus says something here concerning this concept of being planted. And it's something that we need to be aware of. Matthew 15. Let's begin reading with verse 10. Matthew 15 and in verse 10. Jesus called the crowd to Him and said, listen and understand. What goes into a man's mouth does not make him unclean, but what comes out of his mouth, that is what makes him unclean. Then the disciples came to Him and asked, do you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard this? The Pharisees, the religious people. Praise God for religious people. That's not true. Pharisees. In verse 13, Jesus replied, every plant that my heavenly Father has not planted will be pulled up by the roots. Leave them. They are blind guides. If a blind man leads a blind man, both will fall into a pit. And the thing to notice here is that Jesus says, every plant that my heavenly Father does not plant. And the implication here, and it's spelled out vividly in the book of Jude. Do you remember Jude? There's only one chapter, and this concept but this concept of being planted, it's not just God who plants people. The enemy, the devil, plants people. He says, every plant that my Father has not planted. In other words, they're going to be there. They're going to be among us. Planted by Satan to do the damage that they possibly can, and to pull you down and to destroy you, to distract you, to take you away from the divine purposes. And He says, just leave them. They have not been planted by God. They will be dealt with in time. That makes our task of being the splendor of God's glory much more difficult. Because many of you have been planted in a place where you may be alone, a workplace, even your home, the school, You've been planted there by God, but there are other plants that are not of God